Longlegs is a horror movie that came out a few weeks ago. I am yet again very late in picking this one up. This movie stars primarily Malika Monroe, Blair Underwood, and Nicolas Cage. This is a story about an FBI investigator, kind of a rookie FBI investigator who is taken under the wing of Blair Underwood's character. And they are on the trail of this notorious serial killer that has committed a bunch of brutal and very heinous crimes and murders over the span of a few decades or so. And so her job is to go back through the case and to look for things that they missed and to try to help him bring down the serial killer. What you have is an FBI procedural type of movie, and no, there were no actual spiders in this movie. I'm not gonna have a bunch of corny ass Longlegs jokes or spider jokes for this one. I have a Spider-Man shirt on. I figure that's proof enough that I'm in the spirit of the movie. I will say I did not see a lot of long-legged people throughout the entire runtime. That has to affect the final score in some way. You guys have heard me talk about this in a lot of different movie reviews. In fact, you guys have heard me speak about this in a movie review I did just a few days ago. When I reviewed Cuckoo, I talked about the atmosphere and how creepy and weird and off it felt in that movie. For a movie like this, an FBI procedural investigative movie that's kind of a slow burn, that's about searching for clues and about a really sadistic, messed up situation involving a serial killer, a movie like this demands that it rides heavy on atmosphere. Atmosphere is the thing that is going to sell you more than anything else in this movie. When it comes to creating the atmosphere for this movie, I feel like the filmmakers and everybody involved understood the assignment. A lot of tension that is perfectly executed in this movie, and a lot of that comes down to really sharp, crisp, precise editing. It also comes down to great sound design and a minimal musical score that only kicks in during the parts that it really needs to create something that gets under your skin. This movie has been described as like one of the scariest movies of the year, one of the scariest movies of the decade or something. I'm pretty sure I saw that type of hyperbole pop up somewhere. I'm here to tell you guys that this movie is absolutely not one of the scariest movies of the year. At least it's not to me. Granted, I don't really get scared at horror movies anymore, so that could just be a me thing. I do think there are some scary moments, some really messed up imagery, like you're gonna see that scattered throughout here. In terms of scares, like real scares, I don't know that this is the movie that's gonna knock your socks off or get your toes to curl, make the hair on your neck stand up, give you goosebumps. It is going to make you mutter what the fuck internally, like several times throughout the runtime, and I think that's more of the vibe they were going for. One of the things that really helps this along is the performances. Blair Underwood is really consistent in this movie, like the lead FBI investigator, and he's like responding to Malika Monroe's character and everything that she's discovering. She's kind of an oddball character too. The way that she reacts to things, the way that she talks, the way that she moves, it's all kind of awkward and off-putting. Like you feel like she's been through a lot of shit. He's like a perfect balance to her character because he feels like the normal person and she's the one that feels like a weirdo. So I like their dynamic in the movie. If I did not tell you that Nicolas Cage was in this movie, you might not actually recognize him when he does pop up. Nicolas Cage is not actually in the movie that much, but when he does show up, it is a frightening sight to behold. One of the things I love about Nicolas Cage in this movie and his performance as the serial killer is that he's still performing a lot of the over-the-top stuff and shenanigans that we've seen from Nicolas Cage in other movies. There are definitely some meme-worthy moments that pop up in this movie. You're gonna be like, I can't wait to play this on a loop or use this for a different situation. Difference is, in most other movies, it would probably feel funny. A movie like this, it feels kind of horrifying. It feels really unnerving the way that Nicolas Cage does it in this movie. It does, again, have to do with the editing and the sound design and the music and the context of everything that he's doing in this movie. You just feel really uncomfortable when he's getting into his bag. I also want to praise the cinematography for this movie. This is a movie that places a heavy emphasis on doors and windows, a lot of really long, slow, beautiful takes. Anything to set the mood, anything to create that vibe. It's one of those things where I was just kind of on the edge of my seat for the entire movie, even knowing that it's more of a deliberately paced film. I was invested in the mystery. I was invested in the atmosphere. That's why I always talk about atmosphere when it comes to movies like this, because if you ain't got that, you don't really have a movie. I will say that slow, deliberate pace, while it works for me, is probably gonna piss some people off, mostly because of how anticlimactic the movie is. The movie has some creepy ass moments and it has some really disturbing cinematography, but it's not really a scary movie. It's not one of those movies that has a bunch of jump scares. There are a few of them here. This movie's not really scary, and for some people I feel like that's gonna make the pace drag for them, just preparing you for that going in. The biggest issue that I have with this movie easily is the third act and the way that things wrap up. No spoilers here. You guys know how I get down. But I was very unsatisfied at the end of this movie. I feel like the film could have gone on for an extra 5 or 10 minutes and wrapped some things up, and I would have been happier with it. As it stands, the movie kind of veers off into some weird supernatural territories, and while it was still interesting, it wasn't nearly as compelling as the murder mystery investigation of the previous hour and a half or whatever. The way that they wrapped things up, the way that they tried to stick the landing, they didn't really stick it. They landed and then they stumbled a little bit, and they may have twisted an ankle in the process. The movie just kind of ends abruptly, and it calls into question a lot of logistical things that were a little bit off about the screenplay for this movie that you could really narrow in and focus on if you really wanted to. I really enjoyed Longlegs. I wanted to give this movie my highest rating. In fact, going into this video, that's what I was gonna do. But I will say that I really liked the movie, didn't quite love it. I'm gonna leave this one in the Silver Age for Man of Steel. Those are my thoughts on Longlegs, so tell me, have you seen it? What did you think about it? And between this, Zodiac, and other serial killer type of movies, Seven, which one is your favorite one of all time? Go ahead and put that in the comment section down below. Please like and subscribe to the Superfan Show. And if you like what you see, tell me how you feel, and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace.